Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning at Faith in Our Hometown. Can you believe it is already the end of March? We are soon to be into April. Easter is just around the corner. But it is good that you've taken this spring day to join us for another conversation about our neighborhoods, our friends in those neighborhoods, and who we are as people of faith that fill those neighborhoods. I have recently been made aware that we actually have a neighborhood council, and I didn't know anything about it, and so I've invited two of the folks who belong to the neighborhood councils, Leonard and Gwen Murdock of One Joplin, on a discussion and the update of neighborhood planning and how that works. And so if you, like me, did not know we had a neighborhood council, stick around and we're going to be talking a little bit about that and what those can do to improve our lives here in Joplin as we work together to build up this community even stronger than it already is. Because that's our prayer and our blessing. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. So settle in, don't go away, get your coffee and find your spot. And we're going to be right back to talk with the folks from One Joplin and our neighborhood council right after this Mercy Minute.
I was in shock, and in denial, and I couldn't believe it was me. I was healthy, feeling well, but unbeknownst to me, after the colonoscopy, I found out that I had colon cancer. My name is Mario Guerrero. I'm an ethicist. I help people that are in a hospital and the medical staff process some of the difficult situations. In this case, it was the other way around.
Well, I'm glad they caught it earlier.
On my 50th birthday, I had a regular checkup. I wasn't concerned because I felt well. No family history of this type of cancer, and yet I developed this type of cancer. During the process of the colonoscopy, they were able to remove that polyp. And having that done within the hospital setting, they can just address all the issues right there and then. I'm a great believer in early detection. This is such a silent disease, and you really don't necessarily have symptoms. Go get checked. Follow up with your physician. Don't wait.
Well, again, thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning here at Faith in Our Hometown. Again, as I said before the break, my guests this morning are Leonard and Gwen Murdock of One Joplin, and we're going to be talking about our neighborhood council and neighborhood planning. So, ladies, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourselves, how long you've been in Joplin, how long you've been with this particular effort, and what do we know about it?
Well, I'm Anna, and I'm the community coordinator with One Joplin. I have been with One Joplin since April of 2017, so going on 3 years now.
Yeah, wow, you're just almost 3-year anniversary.
Yes. And I have actually been in Joplin for 5 years, but I'm from the area, the 4-state area, so Joplin,
yeah. Okay.
I'm a stone's throw away from grew up a stone's throw away from Joplin, so
good.
It's kind of been my area.
Okay, good. Well, welcome back and welcome. Gwen, how about you?
I have lived in Joplin since 1985. I came to Joplin to teach at Missouri Southern, and now I teach at PSU. But I'm a volunteer for One Joplin's Neighborhood Council.
Well, wonderful.
And I've been involved, maybe a year and a half or so. They first offered a training for people to get involved and help organize Joplin as a community. And so I took some of that training, and then it just increased my involvement ever since.
Super. Well, I live in a neighborhood. I live in the downtown neighborhood, okay? And, I didn't know we had such a creature as a neighborhood council. So this is kind of like one of those probably too well-kept secrets. So today's your day to blow that out of everybody's perception and bring this out more into the light so that everybody in the community knows what's going on. So first of all, why don't you describe for our viewers, what is a neighborhood council? Tell me about that.
Well, a neighborhood council is a group comprised of neighborhood residents and leaders coming together to work on various initiatives to help improve our community. And that's how this started, just with discussions with neighborhood groups and individuals. We found that a lot of people wanted to wanted to get involved with their neighborhood and see what they could do to improve. And a lot of them had the same interests and issues in their neighborhood. So what better way to bring everybody together and work together than creating a council?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, who wouldn't want their neighborhood to be better? You know, who wouldn't want to make some improvements in the neighborhood? I mean, that to me sounds like a pretty much of a given. So how many of these do we have in the area? Or is it just one great big one? Or what's the shape and the scope of this thing?
Right now, this is the only neighborhood council that we're aware of.
Okay.
There are separate neighborhood groups. There's a lot of those. We actually have 98 different neighborhoods in Joplin.
See, now that is amazing to me, because I mean, you know, I just don't even, I don't even know what mine's called. I mean, you know, so yeah.
Well, we have a map for that.
Okay. Yeah. And so, so there's 98 different neighborhoods.
Yes.
Okay. So give me an example of a couple, like even your own, or even if you know mine well enough to do that. Give us a couple examples so that folks could kind of start wrapping their brain around this.
Well, I used to live in the North Heights neighborhood, which is bounded by F Street and First, and then Main Street and Jackson.
Yeah.
Now I live in the YMCA neighborhood, which is east of St. Louis and south of Broadway.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though the Y's not there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know why it's
Okay.
called the YMCA neighborhood, but it is.
So there you go. And would I be downtown? I mean, would that be
there
just
is
the
a downtown.
Yes.
I mean, because I'm at 8th
neighborhood.
and Pearl, so I mean, you know, we're in
Yeah,
that, you know,
exactly.
in the old neighborhoods and, you know, right down there. So I'm a block in where like the new courthouse is going in and all those kinds of things. So yeah.
You would be downtown.
Downtown, yeah. All right. So these neighborhoods, okay, so we've got 98 of them, and so they're all relatively geographically small, okay,
Yes.
which is part of what defines a neighborhood, I guess. I would have never guessed 98 though. But so we've got these neighborhoods. So what is the are there any governing boards for any of the neighborhoods, or is it just a loose association, or how does that work?
Actually, both. There are some groups that are just a group of people who meet. They don't have any, let's say, bylaws or any really governing structure, but we also do have actual certified neighborhood associations and groups that have become nonprofit. So you have a little variety in there
Variety
of
around
groups.
the whole city.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what is do these groups have any other than being, you know, actual registered organizations or whatever, do any of them have any governance things in their neighborhood? I mean, are any of them set up that way, or are they just to help people help improve things?
I would say it's more just wanting to help improve things.
Okay. Yeah. So in other words, the Downtown Neighborhoods Association is not going to come along and say, you can't paint your fence that color, even though I don't have a fence. Oh yeah, I guess I do have a fence, but they're not going to come along and tell me I can't paint it that color or whatever. Because I grew up in historic Old Town Florissant. And then we had all kinds of those rules, but it wasn't probably the neighborhood association as much as it was the historic society and the city.
Yeah.
So these are just kind of like more like just this is what we could do right here in our little geographic neighborhood to make life better.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. All right. So what's the neighborhood council then? So tell me about that. So I got the neighborhoods down. Now tell me about the neighborhood council.
Well, the neighborhood council right now, it currently has members with 9 different neighborhoods. And we are always getting more interest and more individuals who want to join. So we are hoping to increase that amount of neighborhoods. And the council believes in safe and healthy neighborhoods. And they are working on different initiatives on how to make that happen. And right now, the council is currently working on housing and how to improve it in our community.
Okay. Well, so do you envision at some point in time maybe having like 98 members of the council? So you got 9 neighborhoods now that are coming together to talk on a larger scale. Do you envision having 98 members of your
yes.
council?
That would be
Yeah, we would love
fantastic.
that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I'm kind of catching on here. Sometimes I'm a little slow, but so that's what you're aiming for, is to say, well, how can we take all the neighborhoods in the city
Yes.
and make it better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And one of the things we've discovered at our meetings is that even though we live in different parts of the city, the issues are the same, and so we're trying to work on those issues. And, every neighborhood has, a dilapidated house or 2 or 3 or 4 that we're trying to make sure that people in Joplin have safe housing to live in. And so that's one of the issues that we're working on right now.
Okay. And so some of these neighborhoods can learn from what some of the other neighborhoods have done also to take care of some of those issues
Right.
in their own area to do some of those things. Interesting. So again, kind of learning from one another. And everybody, each of these 98, some of them are, I'm guessing, some of them aren't organized at all. Some of them probably don't even know their neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's okay. I really want to see this list, frankly, and I would love to see the map from you guys, just so that I can kind of figure out. Because I mean, I have heard, some of the folks who are a little bit more organized from time to time talk about that. But I've never heard. And at one point in time, I kind of wanted. I know we have a council of churches, but they always meet when I can't go there. So I've often thought about, what would be interesting to have a downtown council of churches, because we did that in Cape Girardeau. So we had the larger council of churches, but then there was also some things that were unique to us as downtown churches. And so we kind of had, we retained our membership in the larger group, but at the same time we found it beneficial to meet and do some events just there in the neighborhood, if you will, which was kind of fun when I was in Cape Girardeau. But this is interesting. So I want to see the map so that I can figure this out, and again, kind of see some of those for real. So the council, right now, 9 members, and what would you say?
9 different neighborhoods.
9 different neighborhoods as members.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So how do you do membership on the council? Do you give everybody in every neighborhood one vote? Do you just come with the people who are there? What do you do?
The people who are there, we participate in sort of a very collaborative way, and, so we kind of agree by consensus. We don't have formal Robert's Rules of Order
Okay, so you don't
anything
vote,
like that.
51% wins or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, okay.
And, we're there because we agree on a lot of the issues that we're working on. And so, there might be some initiative that one person is willing to work on and other people, that's not their strength. And so they bow out on that part of it. And then that person steps up for another part of the effort.
All right, so tell me then. So just, you gotta play your cards here for me. We're going to go to a break in a minute, but for example, give me an example of one of the issues that the neighborhood council's been talking about lately.
Well, one of the things we want to do is have an alliance with city government.
Okay.
And so with the idea of informing citizens about the city council election, we had a city council forum.
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago.
And you guys hosted that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so we wanted, we don't have a particular agenda for one council person or another.
Right.
But we wanted people to be informed. We wanted to give the council candidates an opportunity to state their case and tell citizens what their particular agenda is, what motivates them to try to serve the city.
Very good. Well, my guests this morning are Anna Leonard and Gwen Murdock of One Joplin, and they're with the Neighborhood Council. And we've been talking about neighborhood councils and how that might help us, to improve our community here in Joplin. So we're going to be right back after a real quick break. Don't go away.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, again, thank you for staying with us for another Sunday morning of Faith in Our Hometown. Today we're talking about our local neighborhoods and the Neighborhood Council with Anna Leonard and Gwen Murdock, who are both working with the Neighborhood Council at this point in time. We were talking a little bit before the break about the forum that you all hosted for City Council candidates that might get introduced to the neighborhoods and introduced to the city. And you guys were part of that. So the thinking there was, is you just want a closer working relationship and alliance so that those folks know who are in their wards, their areas, and how then they might stay connected to some of these groups. Again, some of them more organized than others.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Did you think this? I mean, I didn't get a chance to go. I read about it in the paper, but I mean, did you all think that was a good success for you all? Do you think that accomplished your goal of getting closer to some of those candidates?
Well, I think so. You know, we certainly had the opportunity to, I think each one of us talked to one or two candidates one-on-one before the forum.
Wonderful.
And so they got an idea of what One Joplin was about, and they also got an idea about what some of our issues were about, and then they also could present their own agenda. So as a group, we, generated questions that we wanted to ask the council, the candidates, and then we asked them to kind of state their ideas.
Sure. Well, and again, in these open forum type things, I mean, obviously you're not gonna, I guess you're not endorsing anybody or attacking any. You're basically, what you're doing is just saying, okay, look, state your position so we know who we're going to vote for.
Exactly.
When it comes time for city elections, and that kind of thing. Good. Yeah. So, did the candidates think it was as much of a success as you did?
Well, we hope so.
We
They
hope
certainly
so.
have. They certainly seemed happy, and they were happy to stick around afterwards and talk to people one-on-one. And so that was.
I just can't imagine anybody who is trying to serve a particular ward of the city and the city as a whole, because I mean that's something that all those representatives have to balance anyway. What they want in their own area, but at the same time, what's going to be the best for the city at large. I can't imagine anybody not wanting that close relationship with, especially if they meet and some of those groups are larger or more organized. Why wouldn't they want to have that kind of a relationship with you all as they're trying to serve that part of the city and the city as a whole? Yeah. So what else have you got planned? What else you guys got up your sleeves, ready for the near future in terms of some of those things? Anything else that we might kind of whet everybody's appetite with? About saying, well, here might be some of the things you're working on next.
Well, we have various, like right now we're currently working on housing, but we also know there are various different factors that go into that.
Okay.
So we're going to be moving forward on those issues and those avenues on how we can improve housing.
Okay, so say a little bit about that. I mean, so do we think we have a housing problem here? Are we looking for more housing? Are we looking for better housing, improved housing? What are we aiming at here? What are you guys as a neighborhood council, advocating for?
We are advocating for safe and healthy housing, but we are focusing on those dilapidated housing.
So we're back to the ones that are in the neighborhoods that could use a little TLC.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're also wanting to first make people aware that yes, every neighborhood does have these homes.
Sure.
And in many of them, there are people actually living in them.
There you go. And I don't know that everybody understands or realizes that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so, and some of these homes are no longer safe, so we want to make sure these people are safe. And there are various ways to do that. We also want to make people aware of the different resources in this community and different organizations there are that can help those individuals who might have a house that needs some work but otherwise can't physically do or financially afford to make those repairs. So we are also hoping to educate the community on where those resources are.
Which is great because that's a win-win for everybody. I mean, if you have an elderly lady living there who doesn't have any kids around and no family, and she can't do the work, and even by the same thing on her limited income, she can't necessarily afford it. You can hook them up with some of the neighborhood organizations to help her get some of those repairs done. Yeah, so give us an idea of some of those other organizations then that you work with that do those kinds of things, because we've had some of them on the show, and and I know some of the others, but I mean, so who are some of the ones that you're working with?
Well, we have Economic Security,
Right.
Hearts and Hammers.
Hearts
Catholic
and Hammers have been on,
Charities.
right?
Yes, Catholic Charities.
We've
Habitat
not
for
talked
Humanity.
we've not talked with anybody about at Catholic Charities about that program in a long
Yes.
time, which is good. So also Habitat for Humanity.
Yes.
What was the first one you mentioned?
Hearts and Hammers.
No, the first
Economic Security.
Economic
Economic
Security. That's right.
Security,
And we have had some folks from Economic Security on. So Hearts and Hammers. We've had Habitat on, but it's been a long time, so it'd be good to know kind of what else they're doing in the neighborhood.
There's
Blessed a few
also-
Habitat houses through the years, which is good.
There's also Neighbor Connect, but we're also promoting really neighbors building relationships with each other, so neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah.
That, you know,
And that's an organization that I've talked to we really don't know much about, which is a good thing too. But again, sometimes, I mean, like I know that, for example, sometimes we become aware of one of our folks at St. Peter's, or I know that Aaron Brown's talked about this before, from St. Paul's, going on some of those community work days. And whenever any of the churches can become aware of some of our neighbors, sometimes we got a group of kids that need to do service hours, and so they need a little yard cleanup or something. We can kind of partner with them to do some of those things. But again, if everybody's talking to each other, sometimes it makes it possible for folks to not fall through the cracks, and for us to actually reach out and to do some of that help. There in the neighborhoods in a very direct way. And of course, that's especially true when they're in neighborhood churches and folks in the area. And again, that's where your neighborhoods would come into play at how to do some of that stuff. So, we know that, like for example, in our neighborhood, we know we're not just feeding folks from our neighborhood, but they're from all over, the place, but, that come to our outreach house at St. Peter's. Well, okay, we know those neighbors. So we, when they come and visit and we have a relationship with them, we talk, sometimes we become aware of certain things that some of them need, which we might be able to help with. And of course, there are other things that we can't. But at least when we're aware, it helps us to look out for each other a little bit more, which I think is, again, the blessing of knowing. It still blows my mind that there are 98 neighborhoods here in Joplin, but that's okay. So part of the deal is you're not going in and yelling at the people in these houses that are run down or anything.
No, we're not.
You're just trying to figure out what are their needs and maybe how to help them figure out how to do that.
Exactly.
Which again is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the people who are in those houses, but it's also a win sometimes for the neighborhood.
Yes.
Because the neighborhood, if somebody's siding's been coming off for 4 years, that's going to improve the looks of the neighborhood. It's going to improve property values. It's going to improve relations among the neighborhood. That means that somebody's looking out for that poor little old lady that's in that house by herself that may not have any family. I mean, there's so many win-wins along here that I think could really be a blessing for our greater area.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about often is that in some of these dilapidated houses, there are children living there. And if you think about the stress those children are existing with, and then they go to school with other children, and how that creates a different classroom environment than it would really be advantageous for every child to experience. So it really does impact Joplin from top to bottom. From cradle to grave.
And what's interesting there is, again, sometimes. So my dad was in construction. My dad was a union carpenter in St. Louis, and worked for years. And I mean, so we had, everything at our house was always well repaired. Because he built the house and maintained it, and that was that. Although my mom said all the time, she said, I need to call the builder because this isn't working right. And he goes, you can never find that guy when you're looking for him. But nonetheless, I always knew my dad knew how to do that stuff. But in some of these families, it's not that people don't care. Sometimes it's they don't know what to do. Sometimes, again, not the resources to do it, and so those kinds of things. So really, again, if we can help people, if it's possible, and sometimes, like I like the Hearts and Hammers thing when they've talked about it, because again, sometimes they can go in and do the work, but maybe somebody else can help provide, or maybe the people can afford the supplies, but they just don't know how to do the work. And all those kinds of things are helpful. Yeah. So this is great. I love some of these ideas. So what else you got planned? What else you working on? So that we're working on improving the neighborhoods in terms of if there are some houses that need some TLC, that you can help maybe get that done and have those conversations at least about how to approach it. What else you guys been planning or hoping for? Or is that right now what you're focusing on?
Yeah, that's the main focus, but did you want to mention the census?
Yes. One thing that we are also working on and working with our neighborhoods on is getting information out there about the U.S. Census on
Very important.
what it is and why it's important to complete it.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Here's your stump speech. You got your 1-minute elevator speech ready for this? Go for it.
Well, one of the big reasons that people don't understand or realize why the census is important is because it is used to allocate federal funding to our state and our community. And that funding goes to places like roads, schools, and hospitals. So it's very important.
Yeah.
And another...
It's important to be counted.
Another tidbit of information, which is, I admit, I didn't know until we started this endeavor, was that each person that is not counted, Missouri gives up $1,300 a year for that one person.
Yep. We've had somebody, who's helping organize the census on the show a few months ago, and the same thing when that figure was like $1,300. It doesn't hardly even seem possible. But that's what the dollars that are at stake for our community. If folks don't stand up and be counted, so if they're going to be counted, what do they do?
Well, there are 3 ways that they can complete the census.
Yes.
By letter, which many individuals have already received a letter in the mail about it, and probably their reminder letter.
Yep.
You can fill it out and return it by mail. You can also complete it by phone. And also now, for the first time, you can complete it online at my2020census.gov.
Okay. All right. Well, those are some good things in terms of the census, and a good thing to remember. And again, very important for everyone to be counted. You'll probably hear us talk about it a little bit more as time goes on, because that becomes a very important thing for our community, that everybody stand up and is counted, because if they don't know folks are here, well, then we're in trouble, in that regard. So again, we got the census, that's coming up. You're working on the neighborhood councils, you're doing those things in terms of that, and we're trying to figure out how to continue to make Joplin a much stronger and more loving community in terms of those things. So again, my guests this morning, Leonard and Gwen Murdock of One Joplin, and that's the neighborhood council. I'm going to, I'm absolutely amazed, at the picture of how this all works together in the neighborhoods in Joplin. And so all of us together, that's kind of important for us to, remember as we do our thing. So we are going to here in a little bit take one more Mercy Minute, and after we do that Mercy Minute, we're going to be right back to wrap up. Any other words real quick for, the Neighborhood Council?
Well, come join us. We meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. at the 17th Street.
Byers Avenue United Methodist.
Yeah.
Okay, at Byers Avenue United Methodist. Okay, well, and again, in that regard, even if you don't know where your neighborhood council is, or if you don't have a group and you're interested in something like this, maybe you can be the start of another delegation to the neighborhood council. So, all right, well, we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute, so don't go away.
Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., and now we have an effective tool to screen for it. A low-dose CT uses a lower amount of radiation than a standard chest CT.
Breathe in.
Better detailed pictures than a chest x-ray of small abnormal areas of the lung. A person must be between 55 to 77 years old, asymptomatic, which means they don't have any symptoms such as coughing up blood, chronic cough, shortness of breath, unusual weight loss, or any other worrisome symptoms. They must also be a current smoker or have quit within the past 15 years, also must have a 30-pack year history or more, which equates to smoking 1 pack a day for 30 years, or 2 packs a day for 15 years. People generally avoid these scans, possibly due to fear of what could be found. Like many other cancers, if we can detect lung cancer early, it could be very treatable and life-saving.
Well, I'm really sorry we've run over time this morning. God bless you all. Have a wonderful Sunday. Join us again next week for Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.